The truth about my son. This one's AC/DC, you know that?
AC/DC kind of bands like that, Black Sabbath. So,
yeah.
But I like the hockey night in Canada. Theme song. But well, that leads into who is your dad?
Stomp and Tom.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Tommy Chadwick was the name that message went to. So.
Right. You were saying your dad, Stomp and Tom. I know the hockey song.
Yeah.
That was a hockey night in Canada.
Yeah, and he had 3 names. It was birth name was Tommy Messer, as put online, and then he was adopted to the Connors, and then he went back to his birth name, but he used Connors as a stage name still. And then on top of it too is his biological parents was Don Messer, who was Ruth Beach, and I was raised by Ruth Beach. I lived with my dad for the first 8 years of my life.
Very, very cool. So your name is?
Carson McIntyre, from my mother's side, Dorothy McIntyre, aka Reba McIntyre, which stays in real name both names.
And you've been doing some musician kind of work yourself, I hear.
Yeah, I've started getting contact with studios in 2020, I think it was, or 2021. I was first Clark Records, who now went to Atlanta Records, and then it went to another label in Ottawa that went down, and then it was another, like now I'm still with this label, and I'm also with the one over across town. It was Sound Studio 12. I went both.
Very cool, very cool. And have you had a chance to put out any work yet? Any CDs or videos? Or...
I got a couple CDs out. They're called "Here Comes the Rebel Motherfuckers,"
cool.
And then there's also "Watch Out for the Rebel."
Nice. We're here today at XYZ Studios in Toronto with Carson McIntyre, and he's just telling us. Is there, other than your dad, is there any like Canadian music that kind of inspires you? Like any styles of music? Or?
My main idol would be, I guess you'd say, between Scuzz Tritley and Hank Williams III.
Right, oh, cool. And so the type of music style, you'd say is kind of like you're trying to go for that Stomp and Tom style, or do you have your own style?
My dad's style, I feel, is kind of like, it's good, but it's kind of like outdated. I feel specifically more like the Hank Williams III.
Right, very cool. We're with Rock and Roll Canada doing an in-studio video with Carson McIntyre, and he's just telling us a little bit about his life story in rock and roll. What area are you from in Canada?
I've basically been transient. I've lived Sarnia, I lived Owenstown, I lived London, Belleville, Kingston, Ottawa, a little bit in Montreal, so a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, because you came in by bus or train today from Sarnia, Ontario. Okay, yeah. Cool. And you got any plans to play any shows upcoming that we could share with anybody?
I hope to eventually, as soon as possible.
Very, very cool.
And I also do have like a son of my own, who's Carson Jr. The mother is Stephanie Smith. His biological mother signed off because he was mentally incapable of looking after her kids, which went down as an egg donor, and turned around and signed off and walked out of the kid's life because of some sick comments he made in her past.
So you spoke a bit about your dad. What do you have to say on your mom's side? Or
my mom's side, me and her side were never really that close. One of her biggest songs is "I'm a Survivor," but the ones he did about me in 2016 of her apologizing for not being there and not being a mom that she should have been, to me is called "Youre Gonna Be." She did that one out to me, but a lot of people don't even know it's like about me when I tell them. But if you listen to the words carefully, it's the kids he gave away.
What about your siblings?
My siblings.
Are you close with are they your brothers or your?
Yeah, I only have half brothers. My siblings I haven't seen since I was real young. But I do remember, from what I remember is there was 2 siblings I was close to, which is Tommy McGregor, Tommy Jr., and then there's also on my mom's side Shelby Blackstock. Todd Connors, who does my dad's music, me and him were never close because he's always stubborn. Being the older one, he's always had to be the older kind of asshole, kind of way of brother that you have to be when you're older. The older one's always the one that always puts you in line.
You're going to be doing a bit of recording of some music yourself in the studio. Have you got that planned through yet?
Yeah, because I was a victim of identification theft, and like I fought the government because they kept saying that everything online was facts and everything, and that my dad and my mom were never together because there was nothing online. I have a song called about identification theft. It's called "Have Any of You Ever Walked a Trace of Identification Theft?" Before you judge someone, basically about the facts and everything. And then there's also one I plan on doing about doing better in life, because everything else about that. And then there's my son's song, Carson Jr.
Carson, oh, tell me a bit about your son. How old is he?
My son Carson Jr. is 6 years old. His mother is Stephanie Smith, and the biological mom was not Stephanie Smith, but Stephanie Smith went down as the biological mom because before my son was born, the biological mom signed off on all rights and gave it over to Stephanie because the mother was mentally ill. She made a comment she probably shouldn't have made, but we all make stupid comments, but that comment kind of made her look not even trustworthy or safe around kids, so she turned around and admitted she was in the wrong and signed off, and then Stephanie stepped up, Stephanie Lynn Smith.
It's too bad to hear you got caught in some identity theft. I think there's a lot of hackers out there that are out to abuse our information. How did that really affect you?
It affected my whole life.
Like, what is your message kind of from it?
Basically, always make sure you know the facts of like who you are and have like facts before you start speaking, because if you're a youth in CIS or the government and if all your identification was switched with your cousins, don't start telling them stuff, because 95% of the time they won't listen, because in my case they didn't listen at all to me. They just kept saying, oh, it's not true, and then finally in 2019 they decided to do a DNA test and look into stuff, which came back I was right, and now the government's being like some idiotic buggers to me right now, because they're like, well, I'm sorry, but we're not going to help you. You were in the right, and we're not going to turn around and follow the quarter that Mr. Stephen Hunter put out there for me. Just being community living, and they're basically taking their sweet ass time. And this was ordered on August 13th, 2021, because I stood up for myself and said, why didn't you look into anything? And they got mad and just started, instead of actually answering the questions professionally when I had the facts to them, even messages from Clark Records, thanks to Stephen Clark and Stephen Davis, Stephen Davis is actually a cousin of mine who played with the band Rush. Anyhow, he married my dad's first cousin. Anyhow, with that being said, when I tried to provide that to them, they were like, oh no, we know everything about you, get out of here. When I was like, no you do not, I've told you for many years I was a victim of the case theft, you did not look at anything. And I was telling him my dad's last 14 years of his life, and well, the government was like, oh no, it's not true. And then that goes into the song why I wrote developmental services ain't so grand anymore, because instead of looking into the facts that I was saying as their client to them, and like asking for help, they turned around and went with everything online and said it was not true, dropped the full mental health labels on me, and then afterwards finally looked into stuff and then charged me for wanting my answers and using the court documentation. Oh, it wasn't our job to do it, wasn't our job to look at anything. I'm like, then what job are you supposed to be doing? If you're my support worker, are you not supposed to be turning around and looking at everything your client tells you? And basically they wouldn't even give me any answer why they didn't do a such thing. Instead they turned around and pressed charges on me for harassment for wanting to know why I didn't look at anything.
And this is all really just to prove that you're the son of who you say you're the son of.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't really have any legal documents.
I have I have the music industry of Clark Records who knew everything, because Stephen Davis and Stephen Clark both knew everything. My dad had a will for me that had not been looked after, because his legacy met up with me in Galway, but instead of me turning around and saying, yes, I'm giving my legal information because I just got out of the psych ward for speaking up, they turned around, I didn't want to turn around and say anything because of being scared and how the government was with me. I turned around and just bluffed it off, because you never know what, like, not remembering who they were or whatever at the time, you never know how it could turn, especially with all, for 23 years being judged and being told you're not who you are, and all of a sudden people that know who you are come out looking at you and say, who are you, come on, tell us your correct information. Of course you're going to think, okay, what's going on here, because I was just taking 23 years and nobody's ever came forward, nobody's ever done any of this, what's going on? I should have said my information then, because of all of the identification means Swiss and being judged. I did not, but they confirmed that my dad left me a lot of wealth and stuff from his career, left me to Stomp and Tom Connor's rights. My brother Todd Simpson, aka Todd Connors online, Tom Connors, right? Because Dad was in the music industry twice, not just once, which a lot of people tend to forget about. His earlier years was Tom Connors. His later years was Stomp and Tom Connors.
Oh, okay. What era would be that? He must be like in the late 50s, started his career?
I'd say, yeah, about 1950s he started his original, and then he got out of the music industry because the way the music industry was being to like the Canadian artists and saying, you know what, if you're not from USA, you're not going to be able to make it anywhere because we don't want Canadian artists. And basically turned around and said, okay, well, if you're going to be in the music industry, you got to say you're from the States. Dad turned around and said, more or less, screw you, truckers, and actually turned around and walked away from the music industry, sent back his Grammy awards, and said, nope, I don't want anything to do with you guys. Went working in the tobacco fields out in Kelseyburg, and then he went into the Hollander mine out in Timmins, where he met my mom, and then he met Gabe Lapine from Ottawa now, but at the time he was from Timmins, Ontario, and actually got him connected with the music industry back in there, talked to him, they're going back in. And that's where Believe in Your Country comes from and everything like that, from his song Believe in Your Country, and other songs. But he did do one for the USA that a lot of people forget about too, called Bus to Nashville. But the reason why he did Believe in Your Country is because he believed that nobody should have to do what they don't, like, nobody should have to do basically anything they don't want to do, and he believed in this country should come before him. And like, there should be Canadian music, and before his time, there was no Canadian music. It was all old Canada, basically the only song they had. And he was like, you know what, I'm going to make this for Canada, I'm going to stand up for what's right, and I'm going to turn around and make my legacy about Canada. And that's what he did, because of it all. And on top of it too is, why he did Believe in Your Country, because beforehand, nobody could say they were from Canada without being told, nope, you guys say you're from the USA, you're going to make it at all. And he walked away, did all that, proved he was from Canada, and then came back strong as Canadian icon, not as American icon. He refused to say he was from America, because he never was. He was originally born in St. John's, New Brunswick, and then raised in St. John's, Newfoundland. And basically from there, that was his legacy for it all.
Did he kind of have some siblings that stuck with him through his life?
Yeah, he did. He had actually...
He was very successful Canadian artist, and I was just wondering if he had family around him that supported it.
Yeah, all the Chadwicks stood by him. His younger brother, actually Brian McKinney, was actually my old workers, the director of the agency, Pathways to Independence. His husband, that turned around and judged me and said it wasn't true. Brian McKinney was actually the one that turned around and looked at his wife and said, hey, keep a close eye on him, don't let him fall under the cracks, keep a close eye on him, and basically don't judge him, don't mistreat him, because you don't want to be messing around with him after her last name, because they're more powerful than my own. And turn around and basically Brian and my dad were very close, they were closest. His cousins were pretty close to him too, like all his family were stood by him. Some of them don't even remember me that well, because I don't blame them, because I was only there for the first 8 years of my life. But some of them do remember me well. And like some of them actually have been trying to step up, but not really doing much because they don't know how to do it, cutting a big scene. And like, I basically been getting people agitated by constantly asking questions and wanting to know why I'm not getting the help I should be given through email. Like I do it all through email, asking my questions, and they get mad at me. And even my dad's cousin from a shelter out in China turned around and doesn't even admit she's a Chadwick by marriage, because the fact is, maiden name and a married name different. But the fact is, she's a Chadwick by birth, and that's my dad's first cousin.
Well, it's very, very interesting. You got a real rock and roll story there, and your mom and your dad, and your history. We really want to hear your story. What would you like to share? This video will probably be on your webpage, and you're going to be doing some YouTube videos.
Yep.
What would you like to share about yourself with
basically
people that are interested in Carson McIntyre's story?
Yeah. Basically, the name The Rebel is basically a lot of people sometimes mistake it, if you know what I mean. Basically, because they turn around and say, oh, the rebel probably means fighting or anything like that. No, what my meaning of it is, when that's my stage name, is more or less because I believe in standing up for what is right and like proper in life, regardless of how many people try to mislead you, no matter how many people try to throw you off the curb or tell you what to do, I basically believe, basically, no, you should be a rebel and stand up for yourself, and no matter how hard it is, always stand up for yourself and put your best foot forward that will actually lead you in the direction you want to go, no matter what other people are telling you. Because anyone could tell you to do anything, doesn't mean it's right or wrong. But inside, it's only you that knows what's right. And as long as you're following the 10 Commandments of the Bible, in my eyes, and doing everything that's proper to help people and guideline of it, doesn't matter who you are. As long as you're on one track, and that's to help people stand up for what's right, then do that route. Don't turn around and let anybody tell you what to do. And be a rebel if you have to, and stand your ground. So, like, don't turn around and let people walk on you.
You said your stage name is?
The Rebel and his Sidekicks.
Oh, the Rebel and his Sidekicks. Okay, I'm glad I asked again. I didn't catch that last part. Very cool. And are these the bandmates, or you?
I haven't fully got a full band as of yet.
Right.
But I'm calling it the Rebel and the Sidekicks because I believe in anything that like if there's a group of people trying to help you, and like, they're actually working in a way that you need help with, and or like if you're a band, you don't turn around and say, oh yeah, hi, I'm the Rebel. You turn around and say, you include everybody that's in it. So with me naming it the Rebel and his Sidekicks, basically is me giving the gratitude to the upcoming band members and everything like that, because the fact is, the Rebel would be me, and his Sidekicks would be the band, so it all goes together as one.
The name of your band is the Rebel and the Sidekicks. Very cool. And you've got a couple songs coming up. I
got a whole bunch on YouTube as it is right now. It is not properly done because it's only with beats, because I don't have a full out band as of yet. I have some members wanting to help, but due to the means and funding right now I don't really have that much money coming in to pay them completely. Because I haven't got my gal left me and everything like that. However, my songs, if you look at the songs, Developmental Services Ain't So Grand Anymore, like supporting, all those other songs that I have, like I have 2 YouTube channels. The next biggest, a YouTube channel called The Next Biggest Star 2022 at gmail.com, the Rebel, is what it's under, but it's always the Rebel and the Sidekick. It's because I believe in those 2 songs and what I'm saying. To development services, the works I've had in the past, more or less, I was right, more or less, you should look into stuff, see what happens when you turn around and just judge and don't look into stuff before you speak about someone. It's not right. However, when I go into support and supporting, the song's clearly saying, hey, if you're going to, for the upcoming workers and everything like that, hey, if you're going to just turn around and do what the old workers do, and like they did without looking into the facts, what I'm saying and everything, and judge me like they did, I do not want to be supported. However, if you're going to be a stand-up A+ support workers and support team, come on, bring in the supports and help me proper and professionally. Don't turn around and judge me. How would you like it if somebody judged you, kind of? Like, so that's why I came out with those 2 songs, supporting, and development services ain't so grand anymore.
Very cool. Well, we look forward to seeing the music and the videos.
And also on top of it, there's another song too, called Emily Still Steel, /Steel with rockets around it. It was not necessarily meaning to be offensively sexual. It's because the fact is, everyone was making fun of her, calling her name, saying that she's no good and everything, and like trying to make fun of her past and everything like that, and like bully her. And I'm like, you know what, Emily, more or less, she was talking about asking, you know what, but the fact is that I never said I was gonna, or never said it didn't happen. I'm just saying I want to, more or less, as in like a verification, not necessarily to do it, but to say, hey, you know what, you're so good of a person. I don't know why people are always walking on you, judging you, and mistreating you. So basically, you're like, basically, I feel like you should have a song about you, more or less, because nobody would write a song about a bad person, and like you've always been walked on. So this is my grounds to stand up for you, because you've never had anybody ever stand up for you. People judge you on your past and what people said about you. They've never actually saw the real side of you. And on top of it too is you may have a past when you were like younger that you did not know whatever it was about. And like basically, and people always hold on you. They should not be doing that, because you know what? If you actually have a bad past when you're younger, whatever, like if you're younger, like under 18, and you're dating someone that's under like 4 years under you, and like regardless of the age, as long as it's under, and like it's like if you're like 16 and a 12-year-old, like, or someone lies about your age, because some people lie about their age, doesn't mean you're a bad person. And like, if some people may miscommunicate that and think that you're like a sex offender or a rapist, but when there's two people under 18, that's not really saying that you're a sex offender or anything like that, because it's basically underage. Like, it's both people underage. You should not be having that. Now, on the other hand, but they shouldn't be making fun of the person, because once you turn 18, your whole past goes away. So they should not be putting anything online about you or anything like that.
Well, you've heard from Rebel and the Sidekicks. Now, do you have any memories of your dad like playing music when you were young? Like,
yeah.
You said you were like 8 years old, so you must maybe have a couple little memories. Did he like play at home? Or,
yeah, I remember that.
Or were you dragged out to a show kind of thing? It's a Glenn from Rock and Roll Canada. We probably should put that at the beginning, but we can take care of that at any point.
They always play some.
Yeah.
On top of it too is I do remember my dad a little bit. I do remember him always being the humble man that he was, and always like, I remember him taking me to Shania, Owen Sound, London, and out into Newfoundland and playing the games and everything. I also do remember the way that my mom was with my dad too, is because he always wanted me to pick sides, his side or her side, and basically turn around saying, you know what, basically he has to pick a side, and if he picks your side, I'm done completely, I'm walking out of his life. If he takes your side, takes my side, he'll have both sides. I'm like, wow, that's not, in my side I was thinking as a young kid, that's not right to do. And that's why my mom refused to put it online. My dad wanted everything out and online, but my mom was like, oh no, it's not going online because I don't want it outlined.
And this is your mom, I guess, so she's communicating to your dad. You didn't spend any time with your mom?
No, not really. And like, on top of it too is, that's why my mom did her song, You're Gonna Always, you'll always be, always loved by me. And it's her way to say that she's sorry for all her mistakes, because I know those are some of her mistakes she's sorry for. And you know what? Yeah, I agree. She is smart enough to make a song about it, but she's not that type to turn around and consult with me first, or actually try to talk to me about anything, or bring up anything. But she do a song about it and not even try to reach out to me before doing a song. But at least she's woman enough to admit where she was in the wrong to her fans, because you know what? That's something most people in the music industry do not have guts to do, is admit that they're wrong to the fans.
Right.
So bravo on my mom for doing that.
Putting it into a song and really just singing your heart, I guess. It's kind of what music, some people say music just comes from the heart, not your voice or your arms or legs. But
and that song is called You're Gonna Be, and a lot of people think songs are just basically what they make up. No, a lot of the songs that people hear these days are actually about stuff that happened that they know about, that happened in life, or stuff that actually real life events that's been made up, not like just something that's not worth singing about.
You talked about your mom and your dad. Any other stories that you'd like to share with us from your childhood with Stomp and Tom Connors? That must have been pretty cool sometimes, you know?
Yeah, the first 8 years were actually the best years of my life, and then I went to live with my uncle and my grandmother, my dad's mother, and my uncle's mother, because it was a unique thing with my uncle who raised me. Him and my dad had the same mother. However, my mother and my uncle that had the same mother as my dad had the same father, so it was like a kid from both sides, so it was like a unique connection, which was Raymond Upsgrove with McIntyre. But the mother was the one that raised me, my dad's mother, who actually lost him at a young age. Somehow or another was able to get custody of me after years gone by, so she grew up quite a bit. She did a lot of changing in her life, and she became a pretty well decent person in her life and everything. So that was pretty good. And the weird part is though, my grandmother died and my dad died 10 years apart. See, my grandmother died 2003, dad died on March 8th, 2013.
Oh, not too long ago. And your mother is still alive?
Yeah, she's still alive.
I guess she'd be in the U.S. or Tennessee or...
Actually, what I've been told is she's actually in Canada.
Oh,
but she doesn't like to admit she's in Canada because of her music, since she's in the U.S. And so she tries to keep everything labeled as that because of the staging. Because you don't always talk online; it's always staged in Jamaica usually.
Right. Talking with Carson McIntyre today, a Canadian artist, sharing a bit about his story and his life in Canadian rock. I'm Glenn Smith from Rock and Roll Canada. And well, we've enjoyed talking to you today, Carson. Wishing you all the best in your musical pursuits. And hope all your dreams come true. Well, you can come take a look. Just walk around. Take a look.
What you're saying, the line jazz sounds
I'll
pretty
sit
good.
there so you see what it's like to have a person.
Oh wow, yeah, that does. Yeah, that does.
I think you're right about here.
Yeah, that,
Oh yeah, you were in a cooler spot than I was.
yeah.
Land from Rock and Roll Canada here with Carson and G. Rock and Roll XYZ Studios. Best studio in Toronto.
Yeah.
It is.
Rock and Roll
You
Canada!
can make some cool music in here. You think you could do that for me?
Yeah.
Just, you know, scream Rock and Roll Canada, those words as loud as you can, and throw a metal horn up for support for Rock and Roll Canada. So I'll do, how about at the count of 3? 1, 2, 3.
Rock and Roll Canada!
Perfect, perfect. 'Cause
Karson was an Iron Horse security guard. Katrina was the rounder that took him away. They both